In 1985, the largest tobacco company on earth bought the company that makes your Oreos, not a metaphor. Philip Morris, the people behind Marlboro, paid billions of dollars for Kraft and General Foods. A year earlier, the maker of Camel cigarettes had swallowed Nabisco, the cookie giant. Within a few years, the two companies that had spent decades engineering cigarettes to be impossible to put down owned a huge slice of everything in your kitchen. Jell-O, Kool-Aid, Oreos, Lunchables, Capri Sun, and they brought their scientists with them. Here's what nobody tells you. By the 1980s, tobacco companies had become the best in the world at a very specific, very dark skill, taking a product that your body should reject and tuning it until you couldn't stop. They knew how nicotine hit the brain. They knew how to design the burn, the dose, the timing. They had labs full of people whose entire job was craving. So when they walked into the food business, they didn't see snacks. They saw a delivery system. There's a man you've never heard of named Howard Moskowitz, a mathematician hired by the food industry who pioneered something the executives started calling the bliss point. Take sugar, a little tastes good, more tastes better. But keep going, and at some exact concentration, the bliss point, your pleasure peaks and then starts to fall. Moskowitz could find that point for any product. The precise amount of sweetness, of salt, of fat that lights up the brain the most before it tips into too much. But the real trick was something stranger, something the tobacco scientists understood in their bones. If a flavor is too rich, too consistent, your brain notices. It gets full. It says enough. The industry calls this sensory-specific satiety, the built-in brake that tells you to stop eating. So the engineers learned to defeat it. They designed foods that dance just under the brake. A chip that's salty, then fatty, then gone before your brain can register what it ate. A soda engineered so the sweetness vanishes the instant you swallow, leaving you with the strange feeling that you haven't really had any yet. Foods that melt so your brain thinks you ate less than you did. They actually have a name for it, vanishing caloric density. None of this is an accident. Every one of those sensations was found, measured and tuned in a lab, often by the same minds, the same companies, the same playbook that made cigarettes addictive. And it worked better than anyone dared hope. Look at a graph of obesity in America and you'll find something eerie. For decades it's flat. Then, right around the early 1980s, right when the tobacco giants moved in and the engineered food rolled out, the line bends upward and never comes back down. Now here's the part that should make you stop chewing. The tobacco companies eventually got sued into oblivion for what they did with cigarettes. The lawsuits, the warning labels, the shame, all of it landed. By the early 2000s, under the pressure, both Philip Morris and RJR Nabisco sold off their food empires. They walked away. But the foods didn't change. The bliss points are still dialed in. The vanishing sodas, the chips engineered to beat your own body's stop signal. They're still on every shelf, in every gas station, at your child's eye level. The companies that built cigarettes are gone from the aisle. The science they perfected to make a poison unput-downable never left. It just changed what it was selling. So the next time you reach for the second handful you didn't decide to eat, and the third, and you wonder why you can't seem to stop, understand that this is not a flaw in your willpower. It is a feature in the product. Someone with a PhD and a cigarette company budget found the exact point where your brain says more before it can say enough. And they built the whole thing to live right there.